Okay, today I'm going to be teaching you about how to read a story and find the different parts that are inside of the story and figure out how that helps you, okay? So it's this one is called Parts of a Story. So we're going to look at all those different parts that are in a story, okay? So let's take a look. First of all, parts of a story. Readers can figure out the beginning, middle, and end of a story. So that's one of the first things you have to be able to do. You got to be able to find the beginning of the story, the middle of the story, and the end of the story. Because they know that the beginning, that authors in the beginning of the story, they introduce you to the setting. The setting is called where the story takes place. And they introduce you to the characters. They usually let you find out who all the different characters are near the beginning of the story. In the middle of the story, that's where the author's going to share the main problem. What does the main character have to either defeat, battle, or maybe there's some other thing that the character has to go up against? And that's called the main problem. And this is also where the author is going to tell you about the main solution or resolution. Those words are the same. And solution means how the problem gets solved. So if the story's all about how a boy is trying to win a football game, then the solution would be is how he scores that game-winning touchdown. That would be the solution, how he solves the main problem of the story. And then the ending of the story, that's where the story concludes, where the author starts to wrap things up. The reason why readers need to be able to do all these things to find the beginning, middle, and end is because it helps them read and write. It helps you become a better reader and writer. So usually the beginning of the story is near the beginning. When you start reading, that's where you're going to find out about the setting of the story, the characters in the story. In the middle of the story, you're going to hear the main problem. What's the main thing the author has to battle or come up against? And then you're going to hear that main solution. How does the problem get solved? How does the story get better? And then the ending, that's where they're going to be concluding. They're going to be wrapping the story up. All right? So let's take a look at this. So now we're going to see if we can figure out where the beginning, middle, and end of a story is and what the author's doing in the beginning, middle, and end. Let's take a look at that. So here we have a story. Now, I know that it's not written in words, but we can look at these pictures, and the picture's telling us a story. So at the beginning, we can see here is the beginning of the story, and then it moves through here. It says, crack, and then we see a leg pop up, and then we see the mother duck and the baby duck looking at each other. So what's happening? Well, if I'm telling myself the story here, and I'm looking at those pictures, I know that this is happening at the beginning of the story here. So what's happening at the beginning? Well, in the beginning, the author introduces us to the characters. So the characters in this story are going to be Mother Duck, right? And then in here is probably that baby duck. So the author introduces us to Mother Duck, and she's looking, Mother Duck is looking at the egg and listening to the sounds that are being made. So the beginning of the story, the author introduces us to the duck. And the mother duck is listening to the sound of the egg. Do you see the setting too? Where's it taking place? Oh, it's taking place probably by a pond or somewhere out in a field. So here's the beginning of the story right here. Introduces us to the characters and the setting. Let's see what's happening in the middle. In the middle, the author introduces us to the main problem. Ooh, what's the main problem in this story? The main problem is the baby duck is hatching from the egg. So the main problem is baby duck has to be able to get out, right? That's the main problem. Does it get solved? It sure does. There's the solution. The baby duck punches her or kicks her foot right outside of the egg. That's the main solution. That's the main resolution. So the main problem happens in the middle. That's where baby duck is trapped inside the egg. And then that problem gets solved by baby duck kicking its way out of the egg. Let's see what happens at the ending, right? At the end, the author concludes the story by having baby duck and mother duck meet for the first time. So at the end of the story, you can see the main problem has been solved. Baby duck is out of the egg. And now mother duck and baby duck get to meet for the first time. So you can see at the beginning of the story, they introduce us to the characters and they tell us about the setting. In the middle, they introduce us to the main problem. Baby duck's trapped. And the solution. Baby duck escapes. And at the end, that's where the author concludes this story. And it makes a nice little happy ending most of the time, but not always. So what you need to be able to do as a reader is to be able to find the beginning, middle, and end. You have to be able to figure out what the setting is, who the characters are in your story, what's the main problem, and how does that problem get solved. And then be able to identify what's going on at the end of your story. That's what readers need to be able to do. So when you read, think about what's going on in the beginning of your story. So when you're reading your independent books, what's going on in the beginning? Who are your characters? Where's your story taking place, which is the setting? Think about the middle of your story. What's that main problem the author's trying to tell you about? And how does the author solve that main problem? What's the solution? And you can also think about how the author does it at the end. All right. Have fun.